Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II, World at War with our Allied playthrough. In the last episode, we finished up the turn of January 30th. We are now at the end of February. Our battle for the Pacific rages with the Japanese fleet trying to retreat into Marshall and Gilbert Islands, which we are probably going to chase them into because there's a carrier that's one hit, one strength from dead there, and a battleship desperately taking cover at a port. We only have one carrier with which to raid. We're now too far away from our air fleet to receive their support, but the amount of damage we could do in this time could be massive. And there's plenty of other stuff to look at on other fronts as well, with the war going very, very well for us for February 1942 in general. More losses than historically in the Pacific, but with way more gains than historically. We do have far more of a surface fleet coming in from the Atlantic right now. Unfortunately, it's all going to be out of range of this battle, but we stand to gain quite a lot, potentially maybe even destroying not just wherever the carrier is, but also this battleship and maybe even the escort carrier. That would be a harder task. The escort carrier is full strength, and it was also the furthest west, so it might be gone by now. It's also just not worth as much, but any kill we can get here would be good, ideally. Now, there's some things we should probably just get out of here. Namely, the New Orleans heavy cruiser is, like, nearly dead. Assuming they don't go back on the offensive here, we could just safely sail this into Pearl and go ahead and get that repaired at a later time. Due to how many of the enemy ships we've killed and how much reinforcements we have incoming, I think we've kind of utilized the Nautilus sub to the best we can, rather than get it blown up as well. I'm going to sail that back to Pearl where it can get some replacements and repairs, I guess. Started as soon as possible. So, alright, we're going to use the S-42 sub, however. That's still at half strength, so where would the carrier be? It was right up here, and it ran into the destroyer. Meaning, if it ran, it probably would have gone southwest. Maybe further south. I don't know. Let's start scanning. Oh! Okay, I didn't have to go very far at all to find it. Our Nautilus, our S-42 sub, has intercepted the Akagi carrier at one strength with no planes. I think it's safe to say this thing is dead. The S-42 has already done its attack. That's not it, though. There's going to be more. I don't think there's going to be more to the south because the Akagi was the furthest to the east. So anything else would be southwest. Maybe defending the carrier? Let's see. Oh. Oh, wait, did we attack? Okay, I don't know. We didn't take damage. We didn't do damage. We found the Akumba light cruiser. I remember this was like the strongest, one of the strongest ships along with the escort carrier that they had. Okay, so that's still in the area next to the battleship. I don't remember how strong this battleship was. I think it was at like 9 or 8 or 6, something like that. This will be easy to kill. The battleship will require our remaining Lexington carrier to actually destroy. What were the names of the carriers we lost? Oh yeah, I still can't see them in the replacements. Maybe carriers, maybe naval vessels do not show up as replacements. Because you can't reform a carrier. You just have to remake it, technically. I know this carrier's making. I see I can assign Hornet as a name, although that confuses me. Isn't this the Hornet? Or is the Hornet one of the things that I lost? I have no idea. I'll have to get creative with carrier names later on. Oh yeah, we also have a new battleship. The Los Angeles, or no, the Idaho, which is going to go to Los Angeles. We'll put that in port. We don't really know what's over here. We also have a core we can put in Sydney, Australia. I'm going to just hold on to that for right now. Oh yeah, that's right. We also have the Aylwin over here, who's going to go looking for this enemy submarine. Oh, I think we found it. Is that the submarine? I think that's the submarine. Unless they have multiples here, which they might. We'll go ahead and we'll attack this while we're looking over here. Give some ASW. It has one naval upgrade, unfortunately. And then we'll come back to this later. Just might as well use the American ships while we're focusing on America in the Pacific here. Alright, now I have to be very careful how I go about this. So ideally, the Wainwright destroyer would be enough to destroy this carrier. It's an injured destroyer. I don't want to move it too far up if I don't need to. So let's send that forward. Ugh. Not very good odds. But it's not going to be very useful against anything else, right? I mean, what are the defenses here? Defense against naval is 2. What's yours? Yours must be higher. 4. Yeah, this is the best target we're going to get unless we find any subs. I didn't see any subs over here. So let's cross our fingers for the Wainwright. Well, we got it to retreat, which is something. I guess we'll send the Somers up as well now. And attack again. We've got it to retreat all the way up to the battleship. Damn. My destroyers are not going to be killing anything for me, unfortunately. Next, we'll take the Chicago. We'll go park it in between the enemy light cruiser and the carrier as I try to figure out what the hell I want to hit with it. So deal 2, take 2. That's not very good. Or deal 1, take none. Because we also have the Tuscaloosa over here. And its weaponry is worse than the Chicago, which makes it a little less valuable. So if I want to do attacking with something, I don't know, maybe this? I'm not sure. We also still don't see the escort carrier. That's probably going to get away if I'm being completely honest. I can send the Maryland battleship up north here. Deal 5 damage, take 3. Okay. That's something. We'll start with that. Let's try to fuck up this light cruiser if we can. Its naval weapons are still better than ours. We dealt 4, we took 2. Maybe not the best odds. Okay, these odds are looking better. Something needs to prioritize the Akagi, however. So we're going to send the Tuscaloosa to try to kill the Akagi. Yes! Alright, good. We've killed the Akagi. I don't know the strength of this battleship still. I'm going to take the Chicago and we're going to go ahead and attack the Abukuma. Dealt 1 damage. Damage evaded. What the fuck does that mean? I have no idea. Now what to do with this? I guess it should be placed somewhere near our... Well, the destroyers could maybe do that. I'm thinking somewhere near the battleship, just so we have like a screen, because it's going to be a pretty important thing that we have to defend over here. Now we're going to want to get the carrier down, and I think this carrier has 1 upgrade, so it has range of 5. I just want to make sure. Yeah, range of 5. There are more upgrades, but we're do with what we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As far away as we can. Bombers only. And go for that battleship. We want to do big damage. That'll be some big damage to their MPPs. Let's go ahead and try to bomb it. We dealt 3 damage. We took 2 damage, unfortunately. Let's try again. We dealt 1 damage. Only took 1 damage. Unfortunately, this carrier is losing its plane, so it's losing its ability to realistically continue operating and getting us kills. We kind of have an idea of what we're looking at over here. So we can go ahead and get a lot of these ships moving westwards. Ideally, we want to place them somewhere where they would be safe-ish under the cover of our planes in this region, perhaps. So we'll try and keep them close to the islands. This one I'm actually going to send right up to Texas, right up into the port where it'll be extra safe. This is the New York. This is the Arkansas. We'll send the Arkansas closer up towards the action, let's say. And we have the Astoria heavy cruiser over here as well. We'll send that up behind the Arkansas. And we have a light cruiser here, which is going to go follow as best it can. And a Leary destroyer also following as best it can. Naval cruising out there. Okay, so that's about realistically the best we can do. We'll send the Tuscaloosa to right about... We'll send it here for now. Okay, we can see the Congo has almost nothing left. It's going to try to flee west. I know it is. We can try to cut it off. I will send the Chicago to its northwest. And... yeah, and then I can send the Tuscaloosa to its southwest. It can still run through this, as we know, but it can take damage and get slowed down if it tries that. We'll keep the Somers real fucking close to our Lexington carrier. This battleship, I'd like to retreat to a safer place if possible. Although we do have the Wainwright out here protecting it. They do have the escort somewhere out here. If I was them, I would just keep retreating. They have been in retreat, so I'm going to assume the escort carrier's in retreat. Their other carriers over here have been like heading north to bomb the Philippines and heading northwest. So they're not coming over to assist. So I have full capacity to just keep bullying them over here. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't think we're going to get wherever the escort is. It's probably here in the Marshall Islands somewhere. I don't think I can get that. But we can still maybe get the Congo. Having gotten the second carrier means we traded 2 carriers for 2 carriers. We have far more ability to replace them. So that's really, really good. And I'm quite happy with what we've done here. Let's take a look at Pearl. We have a lot of things over here that could do with some upgrades. Let's upgrade the range on these medium bombers. Let's upgrade the range and fighter tech on these Air Force fighters. I don't think things over here have supplies to upgrade, unfortunately. We'll move the Far East Air Force fighters over, I don't want to take up all the docks, but I guess it probably doesn't matter. We don't have a lot of land forces based out of here yet. What's the supply on the island? Oh, it's very high. Oh, it's very high. And we also have a lot of docks to use. Because I imagine, no, now that I think about it, Hawaii probably wouldn't be used very much for preparing. Unless it was like short-range amphibious, but we probably wouldn't use any short-range amphibious anything in this region. We'd probably just load up long-range amphibious from all the way back here is America, which, my god, that's expensive. Yeah. So a transport for this army, 28 MPPs. An amphibious transport, 56, so that's doubling. And then up to 70 for long-range amphibious. That sucks. That really sucks. I see that special forces are usually pretty cost-effective for attacking, since they're stronger than a corps, but much cheaper than an army. So that's something of note. We might even want to purchase more special forces specifically for that. I think like I've learned a good tip by watching what the enemy AI does. How many special forces can we have? 5? Okay. A lot of them with Marine Division names, so that would be good for when we're ready to strike back out into the Pacific, and start retaking things. We can certainly use the 1st Marine group here for the time being. We can send something by transport, like a corps, to protect Honolulu. A corps or an army, depends. I don't know yet. We also do have, actually, the 2nd Marine Division Special Forces here. It cannot reinforce up to full where it is, so it might be worth transporting it over to actually allow it to get up, because, yeah, the supply here is just not as good. We can upgrade it while it's here. I think we already did upgrade it. Yeah, we did. So I would rather not send the 2nd Marine Division Special Forces in without full hit points to anything, even though we can see very clearly they have some islands here that are just not even defended. Which is going to assume, I'm going to assume, yeah, these are things they already had around Kwajalein and etc. here. Meaning we can get some units moving pretty much as soon as we clear this stuff out and start taking some islands. But we're going to want to get things at full strength and morale, hopefully readiness, stuff like that. So I will actually go ahead and I will transport this unit. And we're going to send it over here to Pearl, one of the open spots here. Send it down right there. Far East Air Force fighters, I don't really know where to put them yet. We have more than enough space here. I've kind of clogged this area, and unfortunately, Hilo's supply is very bad. We need to get like a garrison or a corps here or something, ideally. Yeah, but all I have right now are 2 armies and a corps. How many garrisons can I buy as America? 13 more from the 1 that I have in the east. I wanted to place more garrisons on the east coast. I know that. We also have 1 in Puerto Rico. Okay. Just trying to keep track of everything. If we get more South American countries like Venezuela or whatever. Oh, I'm still so upset that I wasted all those points for maybe no reason. But again, learning playthrough. Mistakes like this will be made. I also just really, looking at diplomacy, I don't know what to put America's points into. What would be the most important thing? I don't know if Venezuela would just join on their own anyway. I don't know if Argentina would. I feel like Brazil would. I don't know. I don't know if there are events for these kinds of things. Or what. If there are, I mean, I guess I'll see more of it when I do an Axis playthrough against the AI as a learning campaign. I'll see what joins the allies, and I'll see whether or not the allies are doing any finagling to make it happen, like any actual diplomacy. But Axis would just be way harder in general, as we can see with the MPPs, so I guess if I'm going to waste anything, it's best to be wasting it in this playthrough. So we'll take the Far East Air Force fighters. We'll just move them up here to the marker that says Oahu. I don't think I'm going to move anything else here. Do we have any upgrades for this plane? Yeah, long-range aircraft on the TAC bombers. Let's go ahead and upgrade that. We're down to 648 MPPs. That's fine. That's nice. That's all right. The supply on Hilo proper is a little bit better, so I'll move the 1st Air Force fighters over there so it can reinforce while staying on this island and not clogging up Hawaii anymore for the time being. Ideally, we take islands, we move west, and we're just able to do things like that. Oh yeah, we have to deal with Port Moresby as well. Fuck! Oh god. The Pacific is like the worst area for me. I feel like we're stretching Germany and Italy thin. And Japan's gotten their land forces asses kicked, but this Japanese Navy is going to be a bitch. And the Battle of the Pacific is going to be the hardest thing remaining for sure. We've spent all of our diplomacy for whatever that's worth as America. We do have 2 researches we can go into. I'm swimming in MPPs, So I'm going to go ahead and research advanced fighters, and we still have enough to go into long-range aircraft, so I'll do that as well. Got to make sure we have as much researching as possible as America to get them as strong as possible. 298 MPPs remaining, so that's not enough for a ship. Technically speaking, I guess that's not true because we can afford a carrier, we just can't afford any upgrades to it thanks to all of our production discounts. It's pretty cheap, but we have some other things to do. Like right now we have MacArthur over here. We're going to go ahead and reinforce some more. We're trying to get MacArthur up to strength so he can hopefully assist the Australians in this region. Ideally, what else can we do with America? We could probably purchase something. The only other things I could put points into as America would be pretty wasteful. Want to prioritize Navy. One thing I noticed we're lacking a lot of, we have tons of battleships, right? We're now lacking in carriers. However, we're going to get a carrier as America. Where is it? On December of 1942, so that's a while away. But we are going to get a carrier. We have a massive capital surface fleet and a lot of heavy cruisers to go with it. But what I noticed we're missing a lot of would be submarines for raiding the Japanese convoys. Putting them over by the DEI might be good. And destroyers to actually guard any carriers we get. And any of these are going to be a big investment. We are currently still researching our first upgrade to advanced subs, I think. Yeah, it's getting close. We don't have it yet, but it is getting close. I think I will prioritize getting a sub fleet up and running. We have a pretty small limit. We can have like a total of 8 subs, I think. And if we have a sub fleet up and running, those can be pretty good for recon in the Pacific, for checking out the movements of enemy ships, and also for, of course, raiding the Japanese convoys, which when the DEI gets up and running would be fantastic. And you don't need advanced subs for recon or anything like that, but we are getting it. It should hopefully arrive by the time this sub arrives, and then we can just get it upgraded. And when I get more MPPs ready, we're going to want also destroyers, maybe some maritime bombers, and special forces and corps, and garrisons, so many things. But I think I'll prioritize getting some more subs up and running for right now. Especially now that we're destroying the enemy carrier fleet, hopefully some subs can do us well, rather than only having 2 subs. I don't really care about the names, so I'm just going to take it from top to bottom, which there's more names here than I can even recruit in subs, which is interesting. But we'll go ahead and we'll just recruit here the Albacore submarine, 170 MPP cost for us, purchase that, and that leaves us with enough money if we wanted to get a motor torpedo boat. That's good for ASW stuff. Airships, anti-air, and garrisons. We could use more garrisons. While we could use more garrisons, garrisons also recruit incredibly quickly. They have a 1-turn turnaround by the time they arrive. And I don't think, due to the situation in the Atlantic, Germany or Italy is going to be threatening the East Coast, so maybe garrisons aren't quite what we need. We don't need garrisons necessarily in the Hawaiian Islands. We need mobile forces that can keep moving west. Garrisons only once we take a bunch of stuff. I mean, Midway can use a garrison, but I don't know that we'd even be able to deploy a garrison to Midway. There's some rules about where you can and cannot deploy things. And these lines going through it, I still don't know what the hell that means. But I don't think it means anything good. But you know what? Alright, so tell you what. I'll purchase 1 garrison. And then we'll take a look at where it can deploy in the Pacific and everywhere else. And if it's nowhere interesting, nowhere good, we'll just leave it over on the East Coast. What do we have here? Let's get the second garrison. Let's just give it the works. Infantry weapons, anti-air defense. We'll get 1 garrison purchasing. Garrisons can be handy just in case, covering our flanks. Make sure we're not being too crazy. Let's reinforce the Dominican Republic garrison since they joined us. And there's little reason to do this, but let's go ahead and upgrade the 6th garrison on Puerto Rico. While we're at it, you never know. Puerto Rico's a good port. It has a lot of supply. It'd be very good for any operations in the Pacific. Also, I don't know if I pointed this out already, but I noticed once we got America into the war, Canada actually got a fuck ton of supply because America's supply is spilling over. Meaning we can now upgrade things and reinforce them to full at the ports over here. So America joining the war has made basing out of Canada actually feasible, which is absolutely fantastic. Now that we're done with America, let's go look at China next. I think we have enough time for China. We cannot get any upgrades on this army because the supply just has not caught up enough. We can get this corps moving. So we're going to have it moving south so it can hopefully step on Saigon and Phnom Penh, how the fuck you say this shit. I'm going to go ahead and give AA upgrades to the first corps here. The Chen HQ will go sit on Hue, and hopefully boosting the supply from there will reach down here to Camaran Bay, ideally, because we can't even reinforce down there for the time being. We'll go ahead and take the 2nd Heavy Artillery, and we're going to bomb Haikou. I think I mess up my speech every time I look at Haikou, to be honest. We'll reinforce the 1st Army. We'll attack with the 68th Army. Don't know how we went from 1st to 68th. That's a gigantic jump. We don't even have that many armies. We can't even have that many armies. The enemies have lost 3. That'll keep them busy. That'll keep them spending money on getting things back. Let's take a look at this core. Is there anything on Tainan? There's nothing on Tainan. So we can actually go ahead and claim Tainan just like that. So now we have Taipei and Tainan. I'll probably end up moving this core and leaving it at Taipei, but for the time being, let's not end in the middle of the place. Barring the worst that could possibly happen, you know? Let's actually just sit on a city for the time being. Now for our amphibious China strategy here, we know that anything that's occupied, any nation that's liberated by a non-cooperative will go to that non-cooperative. So if China liberates the Philippines, China will get the Philippines. One way or another, it probably doesn't matter very much, but ideally, we don't want them doing that. I mean, either way, they're going to get the Philippines, they might get Japan, I don't know what they're going to get. We only need an American unit if we want to liberate it towards America or whatever. We would only need one American unit to actually step on it. Actually, no, this is liberation. Japan would just be occupation. So that would just be, yeah, occupation itself directly. Does Japan have partisans? I don't see that it does. It's quite weird because Japan was planning to put up one heck of a fight if they were landed on. Meaning, if they don't have partisans, they're probably just going to get a bunch of free spawns like the British gets the Home Defense Force if we land there. So that will have to wait until our amphibious is high enough to land multiple units there, including HQs, like at once. Right now, we can't do that. Looking at how to handle this naval strategy, trying to keep in mind the fact that China has overwhelming land forces, and that's like the one thing we'll never run low on. Especially cores. Because if we're going to do amphibious landings, cores and stuff are going to be the cheapest. They're also not going to be as strong, but they're going to be the cheapest and the ones that we can get out there the quickest. So if anything, I guess I would want armies defending and cores going out to the islands while lacking special forces. I'm actually learning stuff just by watching the Axis AI of how to best handle this kind of stuff. At least I think I'm learning. So we do want to get, now that we can get an amphibious transport going again, we do want to get that going. However, I'm thinking the cores, they have no point staying here. They might as well be deployed. There's no point to keep them here. I don't want to garrison Taiwan with armies, but I'm realizing there's no negative to leaving 2 cores out here on Taiwan. Because what does that actually do? It means the Japs can't land and retake this island that we have occupied, taking MPPs and precious supplies and ports from them, which they need ports. And it means if we ever do want to take China and liberate the Philippines with China, look at how close we are. We're so much closer if we have units here. It just gets units in a better position overall. At least that's what I think. That's how I feel. And if we want to base any more amphibious landings, we don't even need to do it from Foochow and all that. We can do it from here. It's a little more expensive to get here and then do it, but since we don't have long range, that could be really helpful. Hopefully we will get long range as we start upgrading amphibious warfare, although this is going to be a long, tedious process, which is going to bottleneck us and stop us from taking Japan in any good time, regardless of what their situation on their home islands is. We're definitely going to want to go for the surrounding islands first, because I'm realizing with the partisans, the lack thereof partisans on Japan, that probably means Japan's actual defenses will spawn in and be terrifying. So Japan's home islands, we really will want to leave for last. Batter their national morale down any other way that we can. So what I'll do here is I will, because yeah, the cores are going to go first. I will take one of these. We'll take this core. We'll take this core right here, 25 MPPs to transport. We'll send that over here. And herp derp, there goes me making mistakes again. We cannot actually land it here until, oh god, until these get up to 5 supply. They're only at like 2 right now. We would need amphibious to land otherwise. So I'm just going to keep this thing in the transport. No one else is going to need to be transporting anywhere. And we'll just sit in the port and hopefully be safe, I guess. I don't know if we'll lose supply while we're in a normal transport. I don't think so. Because these things can naval cruise. So it should be good. We just ideally don't get bombed by Japanese carriers while we're sitting out here. I can send it up somewhere that has better supply as well. and is hopefully further away from where the Japanese know where things are, which is up here by Arnoi. Yeah, this is the port of Shanghai. So we're just gonna sail up there, so we're in a place that has a fuck ton of supply, a fuck ton of other things near it. I don't want to unpay for the transport by landing. I forgot. Hopefully the more I play, the more this stuff will become second nature. Wow, okay, the carriers are right here, which is something to keep in mind. However, we can hopefully make a little bit of a jump and hopefully find one of these towns over at Naha, and I believe, again, that this is Okinawa, I'm not sure, will be somewhere where we can land amphibiously. So I will get this core, the 5th core here, and spend 51 MPPs to put that in a transport. Can't move the first turn on an amphibious transport. That's a shame. But the carriers are mostly concerned with the Philippines. I don't think they'll come and deal with this, because they'll also need to spot it first and foremost. And spotting that stuff will just be hard enough. We're going to keep the 13th Army moving towards its target of Amoy. This core is just going to stay where it is. Although, wait, no, this is a core. Something to keep in mind. And we're pretty much entirely setting out from here. So we'll send this core up to Fuchao to kind of join the group here. For some insane reason, the Japanese have chosen to keep their fighters here in the northeast, the Air Army fighters. So we're going to go ahead and attack with this core again. Sadly not doing any damage. We'll swap in the army and attack again, doing only 1 damage. It's quite a shame how little we're actually doing over here. This army is going to keep going north for the time being. We have the Flying Tigers, which can go ahead and attack. An actual air battle. We deal 1 damage. We take no damage. Hell yeah, Flying Tigers. Good job. We will also want to keep progressing here. We're going to move the heavy artillery across the river here and get it in position where it can assist with taking down Harbin and the enemies that are besieged by Harbin. Harbin is fairly entrenched, however. Their supply, readiness, mobilization, all that stuff is so low that our army here can actually do some good damage, apparently at a very great ratio. And wanting to cripple the Japanese sooner rather than later, take more of their MPPs from them and liberate Manchuria to China. I wonder what Manchuria will be able to make. Probably not enough ships. Poor China needs a navy. We'll go ahead and attack with the 5th Army, dealing 3 damage, taking 1 damage exactly as advertised, to be honest. How's supply up here? Actually pretty nice. We're going to move the 5th Army forward along the road here so we can make some space for any other armies that are advancing, of which we have 2 that can reach this front for the time being. We'll send the 12th Army. We can deal another 2 damage with them. Let's go ahead and attack Harbin again. Dealt like 1 or 2 damage, took 1 damage. Not the best situation. This core can deal more damage to this enemy core northwest of Harbin, so we're going to go ahead and just attack that the way it is. We will then take this core and evacuate it or push it northwest across the river. It'll have defensive artillery fire to protect it, so I'm not too worried there. I want to do this so that I can move up the 54th Army. Oh, but it can't get that far. Never mind. Due to this zone of control, only this core can actually move forward, but it can do some pretty good damage as well. 2 more damage to the core northwest of Harbin, making it even less of a threat. Okay. Still some good shit happening, that's for sure. We have time to reinforce the Dare to Die Special Forces back up to max. We're still not pushing down this road, and we're not going to right now. So we'll go ahead, we'll upgrade anti-air defense onto the L Core, the famous L Core. The 2nd Core, we'll go ahead and we'll upgrade that with anti-air defense as well. We want to make sure as many of our units have this as possible, and those that do have it can start moving forward. Let's move this core up north. It's going to have to push up. This army, not able to really push forward too much. We'll go ahead and give that some anti-air defenses as well. Not quite sure what to do with this core. Maybe put it forward down here as kind of like a garrison for the time being. This anti-air is going to move forward so we can cover both of the HQs, ideally. And we can also get the HQs having some anti-air defenses as well. Very expensive, however, potentially worth it. These tanks have their anti-air and they can start pushing up. They have a lot of movement, so I don't necessarily need to put them on the road. So we'll just put them up as far as we can get them northeast here in the snow. The snow is slowing us down and technically harming our overall capacity for advance. We did finish industrial technology research as China. I'm going to go ahead and research the next one because more MPPs for China means they're capable of doing more, capable of losing more, and just throwing themselves against the Japanese. I am fine with that. Also, I want to point out one thing I noticed that I really fucked up on was not researching armored warfare for the USSR like immediately. Because this is how you get an extra strike on tanks, heavy tanks, and mechanized units. It says it down at the bottom left here. Not advanced tanks. This is why the German tanks are going to be so much better than ours, even with all the advanced tank upgrades in the world. I really fucked that shit up. That's entirely my bad. Learning, you know, I have nothing else to say. 143 MPPs remaining. I will keep Stillwell marching east for the time being. I will upgrade Zoo over here with anti-aircraft defense. As America, sadly, I wasn't able to reinforce Wainwright because his supply is so low now because he's just surrounded. And yeah, so he's just gonna die, really. There's not much I can do. I'm just gonna leave him as a distraction for the time being. Keep the Japs off China's back and off of anywhere else further in the Pacific. To try to ensure that everything over here has anti-air defenses, I'm gonna actually take the first fighters here, and I'm gonna start flying them east, where they'll be able to protect everything over here. Because I'm realizing with carriers coming closer, the thing that needs the protection the most is everything over here. In fact, if we can get these fighters onto the island in the middle, we could use it for recon purposes. For whatever that's worth. I might still just try to rush past the carriers and try to land the V-Corps here. China has about 100 MPPs left. Not much we can really do with that. I will take this corps and move it up a notch so it's further along the road so we can maybe push up into the mountains next. But other than that, yeah, there's not too much more we can do. Everything else is either low in supply or already has its upgrades. We can't buy anything. Research is maxed out. Diplomacy chits are allocated. So we're good. China's done. And that's all we have time for this episode. So on the next one, we'll take on, hopefully, the UK, USSR, whatever we can fit in. For now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.